Hi guys, sorry about the little hiccup. We're starting again. This is the Let's Chat show with Vaishnavi and me, Latha Srinivasan. We're going to go live. Sorry about the technical glitches in the digital age. I'm just waiting for Vaishnavi to join me. And then, hi Lena. Okay, it says waiting for Vaishnavi connecting. Hi!
Hi, Latha. Finally.
Finally! Good to see you.
Good to see you too,
Sorry
Latha.
about
I
that
hope you.
hiccup.
Not at all, not at all. Sometimes Instagram can be really glitchy as well. So
Seriously, I'm really sorry about that. Too much of confusion. Great
that's
to
all right.
finally meet you.
Finally, yes, it is.
Yes. Okay, so just a little intro to all our viewers. Vaishnavi,
Sure,
of
sure.
course, is well known, actor, MC, model, and of course, she was part of Bigg Boss Tamil, which everybody knows about it. She was on TV and in everybody's homes, creating,
Not something I'm happy about, but okay, let's talk about that, shall
yeah.
we?
But still, I mean, something fun, right?
Reality is reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was saying, Vaishnavi and I connected, and I realized that we have two passions. One, of course, is travel, for which
Yeah,
we started this show, and the other is dogs. She loves dogs, and so do I, and that's a
yeah.
great connect to have. And I love people who love dogs. I mean, I'm not a cat person, like I told, like I keep telling people. So anyway, coming back to travel, every Saturday, Vaishnavi and I are going to go live talking about travel and not just, hey, go to this place, but really getting into the nitty gritties of it. Right, Vaishnavi, do you want to add to
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. No, I think the idea is that it's going to be speaking from personal experience, and I mean, considering that you've been a journalist, you've traveled a lot, and
Right.
I've traveled a lot, and I have my own travel brand, and it's like I think it's a good culmination and a good meeting point to talk about travel and. To clear a lot of doubts that people might have and that might not be Googleable, like questions that people want to ask about, specifics of travel that you can't
Right.
really Google.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, based on personal experience, when you've actually gone, visited, seen, experienced, and then you talk about it, it adds a lot
Yeah,
more value than just some articles on the internet.
true.
Yeah, because you might have a lot of do's and don'ts, which, the people really don't talk about. And I think it's great to kind of get on a platform like this and really get into the nitty gritties. Now, the interesting thing is that Vaishnavi was in Poland and I was in Dubai, and we just landed in the nick of time before the lockdown.
I think like the day we left Poland, 12 hours after I left Poland, Poland shut its borders, international borders. And
Right.
we were so lucky to just get out of Poland just in time. So,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And you made it safely back to India. So that's a great experience. But of course, I was looking at all your posts, and I found that you really had a lot of fun from what
I
I
did,
could
I
see.
did,
So
I
that's why,
did.
I said, okay, let's talk about Poland for our first session because you've just come back from there and it's a wonderful
Sure, makes
country.
sense.
Europe. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the first question I'm going to start off with is why Poland? What made you choose this Eastern European country?
Lata, what's incredible is that most people wouldn't even think of Poland. I mean, like it's not there on even many travelers' bucket lists
Right,
per
right.
se. But if you actually look into it, Poland is one of the cheapest destinations in the world, not just Europe, and that's
Okay.
something that a lot of people don't know. So
Absolutely.
my
Yeah.
my focus entirely for this trip was I just wanted to go somewhere that was cheap. And I'd
Okay.
already done Southeast Asia. So I was like, you know what, I don't want to do Southeast Asia again. So
Hmm.
let me look at another destination and I mean, I wasn't going to go as far as the Americas, which was going to be ridiculously expensive getting to. So I had
Right.
a flight budget and I said, you know what, I'm going to look within that flight budget and see where I can
Okay.
get to within that flight budget.
Okay.
And Poland turned out to be within the flight budget. So I was like, wow,
Okay.
okay, I'm looking at this country. It seems to be really cheap.
Okay. So what was your flight budget? So you would have taken into, consideration you and your husband, right? So
Right,
that's two
right,
people. So,
right.
what was the budget like?
Okay, so we wanted to keep it to. I mean, we wanted to have our flight and visa around cost us. I mean, like around 40,000.
Okay.
You know,
Each.
and yeah, each person. And
Right.
and that's
Right.
how much we were planning. And then we kind of did something really stupid, and I'll tell you about that was really funny.
Huh.
So, like we said, I mean, we weren't even planning for 40,000. We were like we thought we were being really smart because Anjan works for, he works for Indigo. So we
Right.
said we'll fly up to Istanbul on Indigo, and then
Right.
we'll take a cheap flight from Turkey to a destination in, Europe somewhere.
Right. Right.
We forgot to factor in that Turkey has visa. And
Right.
and and we didn't factor that cost in
Absolutely.
at all. But
Okay.
then
Yeah.
it turned out that a direct flight from Delhi was the same cost as how much we paid for a flight via Istanbul to Warsaw.
Okay.
So it turned out to be the same cost. So I mean, we could
Okay.
have just taken a direct flight from Delhi, and it would have been
Okay.
37,000, and that's how
Okay.
much we ended up paying
Paying
anyway. So
anyway. Okay.
including the Turkish visa.
Okay.
So
Yeah, which is $8,000. How much was the
yeah.
Polish visa for Poland? How
So
much was?
the visa for Poland is the Schengen visa, so we couldn't factor that
So,
in. We
okay.
had to factor that outside the cost.
Yeah. Yeah. So
The
that's
Polish
another
visa
eight
comes
or
under
nine.
Schengen. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
it
Okay.
does come in. Yeah.
So, what were the places you decided to go to? Because you did more than just Warsaw. I mean, typically people just land up in Warsaw and then
Yeah.
they say. But I think every country that one goes to, you have to explore. You have to get out of the capital city and go to other areas. Otherwise you never get a
Absolutely.
true experience, right?
No, absolutely. And I think that's true of every country, but more so with Poland because Poland is entirely about rural beauty. The beauty of Poland, sort of comes out, it sort of just makes itself so much more visible in the smaller towns
Okay.
and in the old town part of the capital city and the bigger cities as well. So
Right.
we went to we basically what we did was we landed up in Warsaw and then we sort of did a 14-day driving round trip around Poland. So
Poland.
we
Okay.
drove north to the coastal city of Danzig, which, if you're a history buff, you would know was the first site where the World War II started, where
Okay.
the bombing started. So it's both a historical and a city and a port. So
Okay.
it's got beaches and it's got a lot of architecture. It's got a lot of history. It's got like a whole bunch of things going on for it. And then from there we drove down south to a place called Wrocław, which is another beautiful cultural city. I mean, the amount of things that place has to offer is incredible. Then
Right.
from Wrocław we drove further down south to like a snow village called
Okay.
Zakopane, which was in the
Okay.
mountains. So the Polish mountains are called the Tatra Mountains. They are on the border along the Slovakian border as well.
Okay.
And so the Zakopane is situated on the border, and we stayed there for about 4 days. We did a bunch of treks, and there was a ton of snow, and it was gorgeous.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then from there we went to another place. We went to Krakow from there.
Okay.
We from Krakow we did day trips to Auschwitz, and I mean you can't go to Poland and not visit Auschwitz. I think
Absolutely.
that's like taken for granted.
Right.
Then we went to another place called Łódź, which is like a smaller, more artsy kind of like weekend getaway kind of place,
Okay.
which I mean personally wouldn't recommend on a first trip. But it was still still something interesting for us to see. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
we drove back to Warsaw and we
Okay.
exited from Warsaw. So
Okay. So, since you did a nice drive around the
yeah.
country, what was the cost of that like? Was it cheap to drive around the country? The cost of the hiring the car, the petrol. What was that like in terms of expenses?
Latha, I will tell you how much I spent on this trip, and you might ask me to shut up because you won't believe me. Because
Uh-huh.
honestly, every single person who's asked me this question about, dude, how much did you spend? I mean, Poland is, after all, it's Europe, dude. How much did you spend? It must have been
Right.
expensive.
Uh,
It's not. It's ridiculously cheap, and I'm telling you everything, including my airfare, my visa, my accommodation, my car rental, the fuel, every meal I ate, every drop of alcohol I consumed, no matter what we spent there. I'm not leaving out any hidden expenditure here. For for a grand total, and this is also including my Istanbul visa and my
Visa.
the what we spent at the airports, everything
Okay.
included. Okay,
Right.
I spent
Right.
2.5 lakhs for 2 people for 13 days.
Okay, that's brilliant because including airfare, visa, everything.
Everything,
So, and that's two
everything.
weeks, 2 solid weeks. So
Yeah,
that's
easily
like an
15
amazing, yeah,
days.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
because I'm sure it's a lot cheaper if you do like by bus, but you
Right,
will, I mean, at some point of time, you will end up ferrying taxis because a lot of the places are pretty hard to get to by public transport in Poland.
right,
See, like,
right.
I mean, most of the places you have to take private transport. So, which means
Yeah.
you're going to end up hiring a taxi or hiring private transport or something like that, which is
Right.
why I recommend that. I mean, driving around Poland is probably the best way to see it.
Best way. Okay.
Flying is ridiculously expensive. I
Okay.
mean, we even considered flying from one city to the other, then renting a car
That's,
locally,
yeah,
but that didn't make sense at all.
right.
If you're traveling by the Ural across Europe and Poland is one of your stops, then yes, I guess it makes sense to continue going on the Ural. But
Right.
otherwise, if you're doing Poland as a solo destination, I would highly recommend that you take a car, rent it out, because fuel is expensive. It's just as expensive as the rest of Europe. But
Okay.
despite all of that, this is how much you will end up spending, and
Okay.
it's amazing. I mean, it's not a great expenditure at all.
Yeah, and driving around Europe is actually pretty easy, right? You
Yeah,
just
it
need your
is.
international license. I'm presuming
Absolutely.
that's the only thing you need.
Poland's Poland's law is even simpler. You don't even need an international license. You just need a printed license in
Okay.
English. That's it. So
Oh, that's
your
superb.
Indian
Okay.
driving license works just fine.
Just fine. Okay.
But the only thing is you should understand driving on the wrong side of the road,
Right.
which can be quite daunting for some people. And
Yeah, that's true.
of course you should know the laws and stuff and be very
Just be
very
a little
thorough because
careful. Yeah.
I would say very careful because they're very strict with their road laws. And I mean, compared to the rest of Europe, people in Poland do drive a little fast. So
Okay.
it's not cakewalk, but it's
Okay.
not difficult either. So
Okay. Okay. So coming, you drove around, you went to a lot of places. Now, what about stay? Did you do all hotels? Did you do B&Bs? Did you do Airbnb? What were the kind of places you chose to stay in?
So we did a mix of both. We did a mix of hotels and Airbnbs, and yeah, the hotels are definitely more expensive than the Airbnbs, but you can still find a really nice hotel for about. I mean, let me just put it this way: a Sheraton Grand in Warsaw would cost you like 7 grand or 8 grand a night.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, so the hotels, if you're looking to travel on a budget, I would say go for an Airbnb because you will get a really cute B&B for about 1,800, 2,000 bucks a night.
Wow.
And
That's
yeah,
really cheap. Yeah.
by European standards, it's ridiculously cheap. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you can, honestly, Latha, I felt like I was in Bali. It was like the food, the B&Bs. I was like, okay, why am I spending so less? It just feels so weird, It was like really, really strange. Didn't feel like I was in a European country at all because it
Okay.
was very, very cheap. So I mean, some of the places we stayed were like 2,000, 2,500 bucks a night.
Right.
And I mean, and most of the places are very well maintained. I mean, every city that we stayed in, we had very nice apartments. We had very nice places to stay, and everyone speaks English in Poland, which is another
Huge
huge
advantage.
advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So unless you're out somewhere really rural in like really small towns, I think you're okay. I mean, like there was like one place where we were like, we were having difficulty communicating with people, and even there we had Google Translate, so it wasn't like that big a deal.
That
But at the
right.
end of the day, most places in every people speak English, so
Okay.
it's not a big deal.
Okay. So what about food? And the reason why I'm asking about this is because I'm vegetarian, right?
Right,
And though I do travel, I'm not like I want curd rice, sambar rice. I'm not that kind of a
right.
person. I tend to eat, burgers, everything veg,
Yeah.
and so on, pizzas, and so on and so forth. But for non-vegetarians, it must be, I mean, what is the kind of food that you get? And even for vegetarians, what is the kind of food that you can manage with?
Okay, so if you're a meat eater, Poland is a literal heaven.
Okay.
It is meat eater's heaven because everything I mean, if you love chicken, you won't get much of chicken in Poland.
Um,
There's not much
okay.
chicken in Poland, but every other kind of meat is available. You get crazy kinds of meat, including like boar meat and stuff, which is the traditional fare.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but there is a large, I mean, there is a reasonably large selection of food available for vegetarians
Okay.
in most big places, and
Okay.
I mean, it's not as bad as you think it would be because I mean, my husband is vegetarian and he managed.
Okay. That's
So,
great.
you know, yeah, he managed.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's surprisingly, we found Subway, and Subway had vegan options, and
Okay.
that was quite surprising. And we did find some like Krakow has a lot of vegan places. Some of the
Okay.
bigger cities have a lot of vegan and vegetarian places, and
Places.
yeah, but the smaller, like especially on the highways and stuff, you'll go to McDonald's and you won't be able to find anything vegetarian. So you'll have to end up drinking like a milkshake and having just fries or something like that. But
Right.
you know, there's a lot of these uh, gas station sort of shops which sell sandwiches, and a lot of them are vegetarian. And you have
Okay.
Starbucks everywhere, so
Right.
Starbucks also sells a lot of vegetarian stuff. So I mean, it's a toss up. It's not really like you don't have anything vegetarian, but it's like the options aren't like out of the world either. It's not like, oh my
Okay.
god, it's a heaven for vegetarians. But yeah, you still get a decent amount of stuff for vegetarians.
I think that's important, and I don't think when you're traveling to such places, you should go around looking for desi khana because a lot of Indian travelers, that's a big problem with them.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, "Where is
I think
my
we saw
dal
like two
chawal?"
Indian restaurants. I think we
Okay,
just saw
so
like two Indian restaurants in Poland. Like that's pretty
okay,
much it. But you know what's interesting is I really loved is that two of the dishes that are iconic to Poland. One is the
okay,
pierogi, which is the Polish dumplings.
okay,
And the other is the zapikanka, which is they have this open face sandwich.
okay.
Both of these have vegetarian versions, so which means that if you're a vegetarian, you really don't have to miss out on trying out traditional Polish food. So,
Traditional Polish food.
yeah,
Okay, so I was going to ask you about that. And do they drink a lot of beer? What is their preferred
a
choice of beverage?
lot, a
So
lot of
those who love to
beer.
drink are going to enjoy the place, right? And is
You,
alcohol
oh my
cheap?
God, yes. Oh, and it's ridiculous. It's cheaper than Chennai. It's cheaper than
Oh,
India. It's 180 rupees for 500 ml of beer. I
good
mean,
heavens. Okay.
and I'm talking about even in the poshest, like even in the nicest like restaurant, you
Mm-hmm.
will pay like 180 rupees for 500 bucks, 500 ml of beer.
Okay.
So, and I mean, like you have a wide selection of Polish, Czech beers available. So you can keep trying new beers. They have craft beers available. I mean, Polish really love their beer.
Okay.
It's amazing. And in the winter, what I really really loved about Poland was all the cities have something called a Rynek. The Rynek is basically a town square.
Okay.
It's a market square where all the people gather in the evenings to like just hang out and just chill out. And the Rynek has like a whole bunch of just shops around it, and people just sit around and they chat, and restaurants and people come and
Have
sit
a
and
drink,
drink
have a
and eat.
meal.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like a communal sort of meeting spot kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in every single Renek that we went to, they serve mulled wine, which is like,
Oh, that's
hot,
amazing.
yeah, which is like
Yeah,
hot
that's one
wine.
of my
And
favorite wines. Do you get
and
it during
you're
Christmas time?
Yes, and you're freezing because it's 2 degrees outside, and they have these communal fireplaces so that
Right.
you can warm up. And you pay 80 rupees and you get a glass of wine, and you can
Right.
just buy a glass of wine and you can stand by a fireplace and you can just have a glass of wine in the winter, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful feeling. I mean, that's something that I experienced, which is so beautiful and unique. I mean, I haven't seen that anywhere else.
That's a very European experience,
It is. It is.
mulled wine, the town square, and you have this across all the towns and capital cities in Europe when you're
Yeah.
traveling across, and it's great that Poland has the same culture, right? Which is a great
Yeah.
experience, of course, and it happens only during the cold season.
The
So
winter months.
yeah,
Yes.
so I think people should go to Europe during the winter months. Indians really tend to travel during the summer. But
Summer.
I think, yeah, Christmas vacation, I mean, it's a great time to go to Europe, which
Yeah, you
is
might you
very,
might freeze a little, but
yeah, but it's worth it. I think it's worth it.
it's a different experience. It's a different
Yeah,
experience. Like I
yeah,
definitely want to go back to Poland in the summer for sure. But I'm
okay,
glad I experienced it towards the end of winter because
yeah,
we got to see snow. We got to experience a different side of the country altogether. So
right. Okay, in terms of adventure, see, because Poland, the landscape, like you said, there are
yeah.
mountains, there are forests, you can hike, you can trek, you can go skiing. It offers a lot, right?
Yeah.
Did you try out any of those things? What were some of the things that you did? Did you do any of those things?
Okay, so the national parks are all sort of like barren during the winter period, which is why
Right.
I didn't really go to any of the national parks during the winter. But there are about, if I'm not wrong, I'm actually not sure of the number, but if there are about 27 or 30 national parks in Poland, which are very, very beautiful, and especially in the summer. So there are a lot of hikes through the national park in the summer. But what we did do was if you go to Zakopane, which is a very popular sort of the tourist destination even for the Poles themselves,
Okay.
it's which is in the Tatra Mountains. You can go there and you can go on multiple hikes of different difficulties, and you can sort of just choose whether you want to go and see a lake, or you want to go and see a waterfall. You want to go to the top of a mountain. Do you want to take a ski lift? What do you want to
Okay.
do? You can pick and choose a level of difficulty. You can go skiing. You can hike a mountain. You can get to a peak. And
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's crazy. So we did one of the hikes there to a place called Morski Oko, which is supposed to be incredibly beautiful in the summer, but it was frozen in the winter. And I mean, the trek was totally worth it, but we couldn't appreciate the beauty of the place as much as people said it was in the summer. So I'm hoping
Right.
we can do that once we go back in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the other kind of things that you tried out, you other than the driving around and on an everyday basis? Did you go to the castles? What was your day like? I mean, what in terms of sights, what did you like the most? What did you want to do? What did you check out?
So every day we would basically pick up like we would sit previous evening and figure out what our itinerary for the next day was going to be based on our location. So I mean, whole of Poland has so much that it has to offer in terms of variety. So on one day we would be like, hey, you know what? Let's go check out Auschwitz tomorrow, because we were in Krakow, and we said we're only about like 80 kilometers from Auschwitz. So let's drive down to Auschwitz. And then one day we did a salt mine. So we went and explored one of the oldest salt mines in the world, and
Okay.
sort of that took a whole day. Then one day we went and saw a chapel that was entirely built out of skulls. You know,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So you just sort of exploring. Then one day we went to a village which has this culture of being the entire village is just painted in these unique floral patterns, and there's like a history to it. And this one particular lady started it as a as a time pass, and then she sort of like inspired all the women in her village to take it up. And because of that, now that place has become so famous and everybody comes there to just see the village. So,
Right.
like every day we would pick up, so we'd be like, okay, today we'll go to this castle. So one day we decided, okay, we're driving from here to here. We would, actually sit down and we would plot on the map what our route was going to be. And we would be like, okay, what is on the way? What can we see on the way? And we would, research different locations, and then we would figure out, okay, there's this on the way. Then depending on how much time we had driving from point A to point B, we would be like, okay, let's go see this, let's go see that.
Okay.
So every day was different. Every day was a different kind of adventure. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, you spoke about Auschwitz, and I think historically, it's a very important part. And what was that experience like? And do you think everyone must go there if they ever visit Poland? That is something they must go see.
Oh man, Latha, sometimes I want to say, I want to say that I want to make it compulsory for everyone to visit Auschwitz in their life once,
Right.
But it's such a dark and horrifying experience that I don't think everyone has the stomach for it,
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I would love for everyone to go there once if they can stomach it, honestly, because there is so much you can learn just by, I mean, not even forget learning. It's just, there is so much horror there that just lies within those halls that haunts you as you walk through it, that you start to realize that how cruel humankind can actually be. And how easy it is. I mean, when they tell you the story, when the guide tells you the story, all the tours there are guided. So they tell you the story of how simply it started, how basic it started, where the level at which it started and where it ended. And you're like, when you start relating to that on a level, and you're like, wait a minute, that's what's going on in my country right now. And you're like, hold on, that's not cool. That doesn't make sense, because I mean, how is it that he said all these lies and then it ended up with 6 million Jews dead,
Right.
and somebody right now is peddling those exact same lies in my country, and are you telling me that it's not going to end up the same way? So when you start relating to it, and then you start those reveling in those horrors, you start feeling like, okay, you have so much to learn from history. And I guess that's one of the reasons why that place exists, is that so that we learn from it and we ensure it never happens again, right? So I would say that if you have a chance to do just one thing in Poland, do Auschwitz. Just pick Auschwitz. Yeah, don't miss that, because it might be dark, it might be horrifying, but it is worth all the emotional turmoil that you go through for those 3 hours.
I think it changes your life experience after that.
It does.
I mean, and your perspective. Yeah.
It does.
So, there are questions which are coming up, and one of the things which I wanted to ask you myself was, did any funny things happen, unexpected things happen, or, during your trip, or hilarious instances as well, that, you ended up, maybe you wanted to go somewhere and you ended up somewhere else. I mean, I don't know, any funny things that happened or anything scary during your trip?
I don't think anything like intentionally scary happened, but or funny per se happened. But I think most of the time we were just, I mean, I can't really think of anything specific funny, because every single time we would plan to do something and then we would get really lazy. But I do remember, yeah, we would get lazy, but we would have to keep motivating ourselves, and then we would get really cold and we'd be like, no, we have to do this. So I think the funniest thing that happened was we went to Zakopane, and people were like, okay, there's this trek to Moski Oko. It's the easiest trek of them all. Anybody can do it. And then we were like, yeah, cool, let's go, let's do the trek and all that. And then, the night before it was about it was -1 degree Celsius, the morning of the trek. And the night before we had researched, and people were warning us, saying that, please wear proper snow boots, please wear and both of us had not carried any sort of equipment, nothing. We had our gym shoes with us. So So we were like, okay, should we do this? Should we not do this? We were like, okay, what do we do? What's the worst that can happen? And so let's go. So we decided to go, and with our shoes, and everybody there is in full gear. We're the only two idiots there, just wearing gym shoes and trekking in the snow like idiots. And everybody's looking at us. I'm not sure if it was because the only brown people there, or it was because you were looking like idiots in our gym shoes. But they're just looking at us. We just kept walking. Finally, we reached this point where the entire road was just ice, and both of us started skidding like crazy. Somehow we made it to the top. We finished. We got some soup. We got some mulled wine into us, and said, "Okay, it's time to go back. Let's trek downhill." We start trekking downhill. We skid every 3 seconds. We're like, how? And it's like a 9-kilometer trek. We're like, okay, shit, this is not gonna happen. There's no way we can do this. So luckily for us, there were these horse carriages. That were plying down, and we said, okay, it doesn't matter if we have to pay money. I'm not risking breaking my back or dying wearing gym shoes in some unknown land in some snow. We're taking the horse carriage. I think that was the funniest thing, because we kept slipping so badly and everyone was just laughing at us. I think next time we'll probably go better prepared. So.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of shopping, how is Poland as a place to shop? I mean, is it cheap? And what are the kind of things, ideally you should go pick up if you ever go?
It's not really a shopping kind of place, because it's not Milano kind of place where you go to pick up stuff for yourself in Europe. It's the kind of place where you go.
Clothes, do they have anything other than clothes? Maybe cheese?
No, not really.
No?
Not really. They don't have much going on in terms of the shopping as such. I mean, we had a really, really hard time even just thinking of what do we buy for our family on the way back. We ended up picking up vodka, which was the only thing you could.
Is it cheap?
Very. Unbelievably. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. If you want to buy something from Poland, buy alcohol. It's the cheapest thing they have. They have amazing vodka. I would say that. And I mean, the usual, they have souvenirs, in all the tourist places. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so that's not really, but in terms of packing, you mentioned that, you took your sneakers and whatever. So in winter, what are the kind of clothes that you pack? Do you make sure that, you take your sweaters, you take your jackets, do you need gloves?
You do. You need a lot of layering. You do need thermal wear. We actually went towards the end of winter when it was around, on an average 6-7 degrees. And we were still pretty cold throughout the, because even in the cities, you have a lot of tunneling winds. So it gets very windy and it can get very cold. Gloves, I would say, are a must. And, some definitely carry ear warmers, because as much as possible, when you block out the wind in your ears, then you start feeling a little warm. So thick scarves, and thick fur coats, fur jackets, fur preferably. So
you need boots for sure. I mean, some winter, some winter
for sure. I mean, not in the cities, because in the cities you're good with just sneakers. Because as long as you have thick socks on, you're okay. But I mean, if you're going to the snow, please carry some snow boots and don't be idiots like us wearing gym shoes to the snow.
Okay. So what are your top 3 tips for travelers to Poland? If they decide to go to Poland, what are your top 3 tips?
My first tip would be, don't apply for a Polish visa. I mean, don't apply for a Schengen visa through Poland. It's impossible. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Try and get a visa through some other country. Preferably, if you can get to a neighboring country, and then lie away and get into Poland, and then be like, I will be visiting that country soon, and then that's what we did.
Okay.
because it's impossible. It's impossible to VFS doesn't help you. Nobody helps you.
Okay.
The Polish visa website is a nightmare,
Okay.
and we tried to apply for close to 2 months before we gave up.
Okay. Okay.
So a first tip is just don't even bother. It's not
Okay.
worth the hassle. Just
Okay.
straight away think of applying for another country. But do something like France or Germany or something
Yeah.
that's close
And
by
then
and
get
it's
in.
easy to
Okay.
get.
Get
That is
in.
easy to
Right.
get.
Yeah.
If you get cheap tickets to another country that you can visit,
You know,
great, why not?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Um, the second tip would be definitely try Polish food. Don't
Okay.
miss out on Polish food because, I mean, as much as people say that Polish people don't have a cuisine, some
Hmm.
of the Polish food is actually very tasty. Pierogies are delicious beyond measure.
Okay.
The pierogies are
What are they made
basically
of?
pierogies are made of maida,
Okay.
so it's
Flour.
just yeah, it's just dumplings. They're just
Okay.
basically like momos, but
Okay.
they're stuffed with either meat or with cottage cheese or with cheese and potatoes or stuff like that.
Okay.
And they go insanely well with beer. So
Okay.
I mean, nothing like a nice big bowl of pierogi and some beer to, you know, make things better on a nice cold day or to even make things good on a hot day. So,
Okay.
and I think my third tip would be drive around Poland because the
Okay.
countryside is all kinds of beautiful.
Okay.
GPS works
Hmm.
beautifully in
Hmm.
Poland, so it's almost impossible to get lost. And there are, I mean, again, the toll is that there are if you avoid the toll roads, which is something I again recommend doing, which
Hmm.
is what we did. Don't take the motorways. Which
Okay.
that's another thing, Latha, by the way, which
Huh.
I wanted to mention and I failed to mention earlier. When you're driving in Poland,
Huh.
so what they've done on the motorways is
Huh.
to avoid the sound from permeating into the nearby villages and towns. They
Okay.
have built these high barricades on the side of the motorway so that they
Okay.
sound like sound barriers. So
Okay.
basically, if you take the motorways, you'll be traveling on these roads where you can't see anything on either side.
Oh, so it's blocked
So
on both
yeah, it's
sides.
blocked on
Yeah.
both sides.
Yeah.
So but you'll end up traveling
Huh.
really fast because it's really quick.
Huh.
So avoid taking the motorways because the smaller roads are beautiful. I mean, the roads are very built in Poland,
Okay.
and the smaller roads don't have tolls.
Okay.
We actually spent a grand total of I think 200 rupees on tolls for our entire trip.
Wow, that's damn cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was only one stretch where we had to like cross over and we took a motorway and we paid toll
Okay.
over there. But apart
Okay.
from that, we didn't pay toll anywhere else.
Anywhere. Okay. 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 So that's super.
So,
Um, and you said you wanted to go back to Poland. So if you ever decide to go back, what are additional things that you would definitely think of doing? If you made a trip back.
oh, I have so many because I'll definitely go to I want to go back to the beach because when
Okay.
I went to Danzig in the winter, we
Uh,
went to a place called Hell's Peninsula, which is a
uh,
30-kilometer long peninsula. It was
huh.
really cold. We couldn't enjoy it. It was a beach. It was
Okay.
beautiful. So we decided to, not really go in there. So, I mean, I want to go back there in the summer and sort of check that place out.
Sort of check that.
Definitely do a lot of the national parks.
Okay.
Uh,
Do,
Again, go back
do
to the
they allow camping there? I mean, what is it? Do they
yes,
allow
yeah, they
camping?
do.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
camping is
So,
allowed, and
hmm,
definitely want to go back to the Tatra Mountains in the summer. Do the
okay.
treks again. This time with
Okay.
better shoes and
Yeah, absolutely.
check out the Morski Oko. Maybe do some harder treks and check the
Okay.
place out in the summer. And there are a few places, a few lakes which were frozen. We couldn't check out last time.
Okay.
That we definitely want to.
Do those.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So that was great. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of, your little holiday? What was your most cherished memory? Now that you're back and we're sitting at home in the lockdown, what is your most cherished memory of Poland, if I were to ask you?
I was looking through my gallery the other day, and I think my most cherished memory was every single time when we would ask for the check at a restaurant, and the bill would come, and we would look at the bill and we'd be like, "Are you sure that's it?" You know. Because it was so less every single time, you know. We would, I mean, there were times when we've paid 800 rupees for two beers, a starter. I mean, two beers and two starters, and we've been like, how you would have been? I'm not paid this less even in India. It's not possible, you know. So.
So that's great.
So that's a great memory. I mean, like, I'm like, yes, I want to go back and I want to pay that less for food and alcohol again.
Super. So, Vaishnavi, thanks so much. I think I had fun chatting with you. I hope you had fun.
I had so much fun. Yes, I did. I'm glad I could share all this about Poland.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping people go to Poland because it's, I mean, if not anything else, you can say I've been to Europe and, you know, without spending the absurd amounts that you normally would have to spend.
And I think that's so important because, you know, people just tend to think Spain, you know, France, UK, you know, that is what Switzerland, you know, that's Europe. But there's so much more. There's so many other countries to the east which are also part of Europe and where people need to explore. And I think this is a great start, you know, talking about Poland. And now that you've just recently come back, I think fresh memories and, you know, it's really exciting and it's a great start to our little chat show.
Sure,
thanks
absolutely.
So much. Thanks so much for joining in, and thanks to all the people who joined in. Do you want to say thanks, Vaishnavi, or anything to them?
Yes, thank you so much. Absolutely. And I will see you guys again next Saturday with Latha. And we will talk more about travel again, which I can't wait. I mean, I can't wait for, because this is literally the most exciting part of my life and I'm not able to do it right now. At least we can talk about it.
I know we can't travel, but at least we can talk about it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Catch you all later.
All right.
Thanks, Vaishnavi.
Bye, Latha.
Bye.